Welcome to JGTCR. I'm Cope and today we are tuning the Dodge Challenger SRT Demon. Let's get into it. The Challenger Demon is one of the most impressive factory vehicles we have test driven yet on GT7. It is fast, stable and nimble straight out of the gate. The handling is superb. This Challenger feels light on its feet and responds extremely well to our inputs. The steering is very sharp. It zigs and zags when we ask it to and does so with almost no resistance. The factory power output is impressive. It is quite high and is not overwhelming to utilize. The power delivery is reasonable, but it can be aggressive if we do not manage our throttle input correctly. There is quite a bit of bottom end torque to get us moving, but high RPM brings wheel spin. When slides do occur, they are very manageable and fun to control, but it does take away a considerable amount of time. The brakes are extremely solid with absolutely no issues whatsoever. Just stable, reliable, clean braking all the way. Let's collect our time. (6 minutes 53.6 seconds). And now the race tune. This Challenger Demon was very easy to tune and we could do it quite aggressively. And it only required ballast of 54 kilos at a ballast positioning of 35 over the rear wheels to balance it all out. Let's see how it performs back out on the Nürburgring. The Dodge Challenger Demon is an absolute beast. With all the mods and tune, this Challenger has improved 100 times over. While the power itself has not increased too much, the all-round package has been polished up quite a bit. The handling is even more attentive, and while it may have some extremely light understeer when pushing the limits, it holds the road magnificently. The power has been increased about 300 horsepower, but it does not feel that different, which is a good thing. Almost zero impact to drive feel. The power delivery is about as aggressive as it was in factory trim. This means we can still use the same methods to overcome wheel spin issues. Careful management of throttle and inputs in general are needed to maximize efficiency on circuit. But if we could drive the Demon well before tuning, it is well within our grasp to drive it well post-tuning. The brakes are stellar and slow us down very quickly. However, the tail end can get loose when slowing down from higher speeds and trying to turn. The best way to defeat this is to use good brake markers and use staged braking. Let's collect our time. (6 minutes 6.9 seconds). And now the drift tune. The Challenger Demon was a little tail happy for drift, so we used 200 kilos of ballast at a ballast positioning of 48 over the rear wheels. We also reduced the differential settings to help maintain control of the tail end while drifting. In addition to this, we used the body height adjustment to help shift the natural chassis weight over the rear wheels. Let's drift Suzuka. The Dodge Challenger SRT Demon is an advanced drift car. We need some good knowledge of various drift methods and how to apply them to drift well. Fourth gear is where it's at. This is where we have most control and maneuverability of this Demon. The handling is sublime. It is very easy to place on circuit and can make changes on the fly without upsetting the drift or balance too much. The power comes on strong and is extremely crisp and attentive. We must take care and not get too excited on inputs, or this vehicle can get away from us very easily. Power delivery is very aggressive, but also very controllable when we find the flow and become one with this demon. We must stay focused and controlled on our inputs to keep it all together, but it is brilliant when we get it right. And now it's time for an engine swap. We have said it before, and we will say it again. Anything with a Bugatti swap becomes heavily destabilized. All the balance we had in the factory vehicle has been thrown out the window with the engine swap in place. The Challenger now heaves and lurches all over the track and fries the rear end constantly. It ends up being a drift machine without even trying, but it ain't the good kind of drift. The handling is okay when not on throttle, but as soon as we add the gas, it becomes erratic. It can't make up its mind if it wants to over or understeer with a bit of grip thrown in here and there for good measure. The power available is through the roof, but it's no fun to use at all. Power delivery is as aggressive as it gets. It cooks the tyres in all 8 gears, with the consolation prize being that 8th gear is at least manageable. The rest of the gears will test our patience. The brakes take a very, very long time to come into effect. Be prepared to brake extremely early and to manage the weight being thrown around while doing so. Let's collect our time. 7 minutes 26.4 seconds. And now the race tune. The Challenger Demon with the engine swap responded well to tuning. With the massive amounts of power available, of course, our focus was reducing wheel spin. As such, we had to use the maximum amount of ballast available of 200 kilos at a ballast positioning of 40 over the rear wheels. With all this power and a decent amount of grip, we had understeer issues, so the body height adjustment is lower at the front than at the rear to help with the understeer. Let's hit the Nürburgring. The Challenger Demon with the engine swap is so much better when tuned and modified. The car feels on point and can be pushed considerably hard, surprisingly quite comfortably. All things considered, the handling is quite good. The Challenger moves on track with intention and determination. The steering is well balanced and allows us to turn aggressively with only minor understeer at the limits. The power we have available to us is astronomical, but it is managed well by the chassis and the setup. Power delivery gets aggressive mid-rev range, so it must be managed vigilantly for maximum results. Slow squeezing on the triggers and short shifting becomes second nature when driving and pushing this Challenger Demon with the engine swap. We will also need to have super fast reflexes to catch the tail kicks when we mess up. The brakes are amazing considering what they are now up against. They are very stable and reliable all the way. Once again, we face the same issue where from heavy braking, the tail can slide if we try and turn at the same time. We must use the same remedy of well-timed braking and staged braking. Let's collect our time. 6 minutes 4.6 seconds. On to the drift tune. With all the power from the engine swap, it took quite a bit of wrangling to get the Challenger Demon with the engine swap to drift effectively. We used every trick in the book to throw as much weight as possible over the rear end to tame it. The rest of our suspension setup supports these decisions without being detrimental to how the vehicle handles. Let's drift Suzuka. The Challenger Demon with the engine swap is a hefty brute force drifter. It feels slow and lazy, but in reality it is moving extremely fast. Once again, this is an advanced drift car that needs a firm understanding of various drift methods to get it to behave itself on the track. The handling is great when we are reasonable with the style of drift we choose to use. It does not like to switch styles mid-drift, so choose aggressive or chilled and stick to it. The steering responds extremely well in the lower gears, even when bouncing off the limiter. The higher gears at higher RPM can lock the front wheels due to wheel speed. The power is massive and it can get away from us very easily. The power delivery is extremely aggressive and should be managed properly to maintain control of the Challenger. Maintaining 4,000 to 5,000 RPM is the sweet spot for control while drifting. And as a final note, the Challenger Demon also appreciates a good downshift to kick it in the guts to switch directions mid-drift. Otherwise, those transitions can seem a bit lazy. And that's all we have for you today, so until next time, keep racing!